Imagine every hour your local auto plant is down, costing millions in lost revenue. Thousands of American jobs hang in the balance. Mexico's decisive move to cut off critical auto parts could force giants like Ford and GM to shut down production overnight, sending vehicle prices soaring and the U.S. auto industry into chaos. This isn't just a trade dispute, it's an economic time bomb ready to explode. In today's video, we're diving into a pressing issue that's shaking the foundations of the North American auto industry: the escalating trade tensions between the United States, Canada, and Mexico. With the recent implementation of a 25% tariff on imports from our neighboring countries, the ripple effects are being felt across the automotive landscape. How did we get here? And what does this mean for car manufacturers, dealerships, and consumers alike? Let's break it down. The roots of this automotive crisis trace back to President Trump's tariff war aimed at reducing America's trade deficit. In 2018, the U.S. imposed 25% tariffs on steel and 10% tariffs on aluminum, followed by additional tariffs on hundreds of billions of dollars worth of Mexican goods. In total, these tariffs resulted in $81 billion in U.S. imports, from Mexico facing higher costs. On the surface, this seemed like a strategic move to protect American jobs and industries. But what wasn't anticipated was Mexico's counterattack. In retaliation, Mexico stopped exporting vital auto parts to the U.S., components that make up a massive portion of U.S. car production. Key exports like wiring harnesses, engines, transmissions, and other critical car parts suddenly became scarce. These are not just minor components, they make up 19.55% of all Mexican exports to the USB, totaling over $13.31 billion per year. In simple terms, Mexico's action disrupted a delicate supply chain. The just-in-time manufacturing system, which automakers in the U.S. rely on for efficiency, now faces a major bottleneck. To make matters worse, the U.S. auto industry is heavily dependent on these parts. Mexican exports to the U.S. make up about 42.8% of the auto industry's component needs. So, what does this mean for you, the average consumer? Fewer cars on the market, price increases at dealerships. In 2021 alone, the average price of a new car in the U.S. rose by $4,000, a 13% increase from the previous year. Imagine walking into a dealership and finding the cars you want are sold out. Worse, prices are soaring because of these supply shortages. This isn't just a problem for the auto giants, it's a real-world issue that will affect your ability to buy a car or afford one. When Mexico's exports stopped, the immediate consequences were staggering. U.S. auto giants like Ford, GM, and Stellantis, formerly Fiat Chrysler, suddenly found their production lines grinding to a halt. In 2020 alone, GM cut its global vehicle production by 200,000 units due to parts shortages. That's over $4 billion in lost revenue for just one automaker. The domino effect spread quickly. A single missing component, like a wiring harness, means that an entire assembly line shuts down. It's a highly efficient but incredibly fragile system, and this system is being tested to its limits. In Michigan, where GM's biggest plants are, around 50,000 workers were furloughed in 2020 as factories became inoperative due to the lack of parts. For consumers, the direct impact is felt at car dealerships. Inventory is down, and prices are up. Waiting months for your car or paying thousands of dollars extra to get the model you want is becoming the new normal. In 2021, the average wait time for certain models from major automakers stretched to 8-12 months. Car loans might become more expensive, and your monthly payments could be higher just to get the same vehicle. This isn't just about scarcity, it's about inflation creeping into your life. Not just for cars, but in other sectors as well. Household products, electronics, and even appliances could see their prices rise as the U.S.-Mexico trade conflict continues to strain global supply chains. The fallout from the U.S.-Mexico auto trade dispute is being felt far beyond the assembly lines. Wall Street has taken a hit. Auto stocks, the bedrock of American manufacturing, have plummeted as investors see the long-term uncertainty in the U.S. auto sector Ford stock dropped by 25% between March 2020 and March 2021 as production delays and parts shortages stacked up. But this isn't just a problem for investors. The entire supply chain is linked. When U.S. automakers can't produce vehicles, they need to turn elsewhere, but shifting production away from Mexico isn't an easy fix. Reshoring, bringing manufacturing back to the U.S., would take billions of dollars and years of infrastructure rebuilding. Even if reshoring becomes a reality, it won't come fast enough to stop short-term disruptions. For everyday Americans, this means the cost of living could rise across the board. Stock market instability can lead to reduced confidence in the economy, which in turn leads to lower consumer spending. In 2020, U.S. households saw a 1.47% decline in consumer spending, which directly contributed to an economic contraction of 3.5%. People might start holding off on purchases, not just cars, but everything else. If you're saving for a house, paying off debt, or just trying to make ends meet, the ripple effects of this trade war will affect your financial decisions. One of the most concerning aspects of this trade conflict is the effect on American workers. The auto industry employs over 1 million Americans, with 750,000 jobs in manufacturing alone. In Michigan, where much of the auto industry is concentrated, over 206,000 jobs, are directly tied to the auto sector. When production lines slow down or shut down completely, thousands of workers are directly impacted. In 2020, during the early stages of the pandemic, GM and Ford were forced to furlough or lay off tens of thousands of workers due to production halts. This doesn't just affect the workers themselves, it impacts the communities they live in. Local businesses that depend on these workers, grocery stores, restaurants, even schools, are seeing fewer customers as these workers are sent home without pay. In Detroit, the ripple effect of automotive factory shutdowns led to a 5% rise in unemployment across the city in 2020, exacerbating poverty and economic instability for many families. For workers, there are only two options: either wait out the crisis and hope things improve, or start looking for other employment in a rapidly shifting economic environment. While the U.S. is struggling with these trade issues, Mexico is positioned uniquely. In recent years, Mexico has diversified its trade partners. It's no longer solely reliant on the U.S. for economic survival. In 2020, 80% of Mexico's total exports were to the U.S. However, in the following years, Mexico's trade relations with China, the European Union, and South America have grown significantly. Mexico's exports to China have increased by over 27% in the past 5 years. Mexico's decision to stop supplying parts to the U.S. is a deliberate move to show the world that it isn't afraid to stand its ground in negotiations. Mexico is looking beyond the U.S., and it has the economic leverage to do so. This shift could have long-term benefits for Mexico, especially if it can continue to expand its manufacturing capabilities for markets outside the U.S. As for you, the consumer, the market shifts could disrupt supply chains further, causing ripple effects in car prices, job security, and the overall economy. So in the end, the Mexico-U.S. auto conflict is about much more than just cars. It's about the fragile balance of global trade, the economic security of American workers, and the rising costs that will hit your wallet. Whether it's longer wait times for vehicles, inflation on everyday products, or higher job insecurity, these disruptions are shaking the foundation of everyday life for millions. Make sure to stay informed about how this crisis develops. The decisions made by both countries will shape the prices you pay at dealerships and beyond. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates. Drop your thoughts on the ongoing situation in the comments below. How do you think this will affect your own life? Italy's role in Canada's trade landscape. Italy's presence in the Canadian market is particularly notable in the agri-food sector. According to the most recent data, Italy is Canada's third largest supplier of agri-food products, trailing only the United States and Mexico. In 2020 alone, Italian agri-food exports to Canada were valued at approximately $1.5 billion. This increase in trade is largely driven by CETA, which has reduced customs barriers and improved market access for Italian goods. The deal has been particularly beneficial for Italian food products, especially those in high demand among Canadian consumers, such as wines and cheeses. In fact, Italy has surpassed the US as Canada's second-largest supplier of wine, with Italian wine exports to Canada reaching approximately $409 million in 2020. With the looming threat of US tariffs, Canada saw an opportunity to further strengthen its relationship with Italy, positioning Italian products as a viable alternative to American imports in several key sectors. For Canadian consumers, this shift could mean an expansion of choices, particularly when it comes to high-quality foods. Think more variety in Italian wines, cheeses, olive oils, and pasta available on supermarket shelves, often at lower prices due to the elimination of tariffs. Many Canadians who already enjoy Italian cuisine will benefit from enhanced availability and more competitive pricing. Chapter 4. CETA and its impact on trade relations. The impact of the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement CETA cannot be understated. This landmark agreement has reduced tariffs, eliminated quotas, and opened up new sectors for trade between Canada and the EU. CETA has been instrumental in growing Italy's exports to Canada, especially in agri-foods, pharmaceuticals, and luxury goods. For example, the agreement has allowed Italian producers of wine and olive oil to access Canadian markets with lower tariffs, which has fueled an increase in exports. As a result, Italian agri-foods now account for a significant share of Canadian imports. In fact, Italy has even surpassed France in some areas, such as wine exports, thanks to the preferential market access offered by CETA. Italy's total trade with Canada in 2020 was valued at 5.1 billion euros, with key exports including machinery, vehicles, and electrical equipment, alongside food products. Italy has particularly excelled in the luxury goods and fashion sectors, where it holds a strong market position, and the CETA deal has made it easier for Italian brands to enter the Canadian market with fewer barriers. As a result of CETA, Canadians may see more diverse Italian products in stores ranging from food and wines to luxury fashion items and high-end machinery. The reduced cost for businesses importing these goods could translate into more affordable prices for consumers. Moreover, as Italian brands enter the market more easily, shoppers may enjoy a wider selection of high-end fashion and luxury products without having to pay premium prices that typically come with import tariffs. Chapter 5. The food sector and potential for growth. One of the areas where Italy stands to benefit most from this trade shift is the Canadian food sector. Analyzing 2024 market trends, Italy's share of Canadian food imports could increase significantly if Canada imposes tariffs on US food products. Italian exports, particularly in the packaged food and beverage segments, could take advantage of these new opportunities. For example, Italy already has a strong presence in products like wine, olive oil, pasta, and cheese. In fact, the value of Italian wine exports to Canada grew by 11.4% in 2020 compared to the same period last year, despite the global trade disruptions caused by the pandemic. Italy's pasta exports to Canada have also seen steady growth, with a 20% increase of pasta exported to Canada annually. In a climate of increasing global trade instability driven by the ongoing tariff war between the US and China, Italy's food sector is well positioned to capitalize on Canada's need for diversified suppliers. As tensions between Canada and the US rise, Italy could seize the opportunity to further solidify its presence in the Canadian market. Canadians will likely notice a greater variety of imported food products on supermarket shelves, particularly Italian food. With a larger share of the market, Italian products like pasta, olive oil, wine, and cheeses may become more accessible and perhaps even more affordable. Consumers will have the opportunity to explore new products and expand their culinary options, which could enhance home cooking experiences across the country. In conclusion, the evolving trade relationship between Canada and Italy represents a strategic shift that benefits both nations. As Canada seeks to diversify its trade away from the US, Italy is emerging as a key partner, providing access to high-quality products, sustainable technologies, and new economic opportunities. The growing ties between the two countries are positioning them for long-term success, helping Canada to mitigate the impact of US tariffs while benefiting from Italy's expertise in crucial sectors like food, clean energy, and technology. If you found this analysis insightful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more updates on global trade trends and economic strategies. See you in the next video.